In this data tutorial, Getting Started, Part 2, we're going to talk about creating data sets and importing data. So we're going to talk about two ways to get data into Stata. One is entering the data straight away, and another thing we'll talk about is importing data from Excel. And along the way, we'll talk about how to save the data, how to browse data, change data, and the format of a Stata data set. In your public health work, data can come to you in a ton of different ways. In this class, data will probably come to you in one of a couple different ways. It may come to you in a Stata data set, a .dta file. That's great. It may come to you in an Excel file. The book data sets a lot of times will come in an Excel file, and that's also common in the real world as well. Small data sets you may need to enter yourself. So let's start there. Go to Data, Data Editor, Data Editor, Edit, and what comes up looks like a spreadsheet because that's what it is. And I'm going to enter the data. The one I'm going to enter is from your textbook, and it just has a couple of observations, and they are skin fold thicknesses from the from triceps, and it's table 4.4 from our current textbooks, and they are for, I'm just going to type them in, and they are for chronic lung disease and for controls. And just so you don't have to watch me enter it in, I'll skip to the end. So it only took me a minute or two to type those in. And what this is observation level data, so it's one row per person. So this is not summary data. I call this raw data or observation level data. And a lot of times I will put ID as the first column, and that reminds me, and I'm just going to put in the fake ID numbers. That just reminds me that this is observation level data. So one thing I can do is to come over here and give these variables names that make sense in the context of the problem, like patient ID. Remember that these are case sensitive. If needed, you might want to put in some labels here. Just type them in. And now I have my data set, and I'm able to do some manipulations if needed. And I want to save it. So let's go over to Save or Save As. And I'm going to save it as skin fold lung disease, table 4.4, and you'll notice that it's going to save it as a file type .dta, and I do save. Of course, your directory structure will be different than mine. I'm going to hit Save, and it's saved, and I can minimize this. And if I come back here, look, it has been tracking what I have been doing. You'll see that it has been creating code when I have been entering these in. It has been it has been replacing things over here. It has been labeling things, you can see, etc. It's like I've been typing it into the command line, but I've been doing it in the like in the spreadsheet. So when you're dealing with data, anytime that you want to browse your data or to edit your data, the ways to get to that are up here. There's a couple different ways. One way is to go to your data, and then data editor, and you can do edit or browse. A shortcut for that is right here, these two little icons where one has a little pencil and one has a little search. So that's the browse and the edit. So if I wanted to browse my data, it says, do you want to change mode? Do you want to browse? And I'll say yes. And when you browse, it's only going to let me look at it, but I can't change it. And that's nice if you have a data set that you don't want to be able to change. And now let's just close this, but I can always come down here and let's just say I wanted to summarize. And I could get the summary statistics on the quantitative variables here. Now let's say that I wanted to import an Excel file. For this course, a lot of the data sets that you'll be given will be given to you in Excel. So if you are given an Excel file and want to import it into Stata, you can come to File, Import, Import Excel, Browse, and again yours will, directory structure may look different, but I have one in here that I'm going to import from. This is from a Flint data set, Flint, Michigan, having to do with lead. If your first row has the variable name, so here the first row If you looked at it in Excel, it has ID, the zip code, the lead amount on the first draw and after 45 seconds, etc. That first row is the variable names. That's usually the way that it is. I'm going to click that, yes. I'm going to say OK. Do you want to continue and replace the data in memory? I'm going to say yes, because I have saved I have already saved my data set that I was working on previously. So you want to make sure that you save data set if you have changed it. I'm going to say yes. And it created code here. I can see it two places. I can see it over here in my review window. It created that code where I imported it. And it created code here in my results window and imported the data set. And maybe I want to list it. So I'll type list in the command window. And look, I can see 269 observations. I can scroll up here and see my Flint data set. I can see my variable names. Maybe I want to summarize. Maybe I want to summarize first draw. Being careful with case, all small letters. And I see the average of first draw is 10.6, and I don't know the units here, so I will need to go back and look at my data dictionary and know more about the data set to be able to make sense out of this. But this gives you an understanding of how to get data into Stata by entering the data for a small data set, about browsing versus editing your data, and importing a data set from Excel.